back then in 2013 when I was working in Barcelona and the company I was working back then, which it was complemented with the e-commerce, they shut down operations and then I said, okay, actually I wanted this to happen because I could focus to build something. But of course, it's not a grateful experience. And it helped me to realize that maybe I should do a change. And then I moved to Dubai. And a lot of things happened because of that. I met my wife, I joined Karim, I met my co-founder in Karim, and we started Cercli. So you never know.
Welcome to Money Made Simple. Today's guest is making serious waves in the business and startup world. He's co-founded Cercli, the region's largest and fastest growing employee and payroll platform. Prior to this, he was at an early teams in Karim. At Cercli, he helps businesses in over 31 countries hire, manage, and pay their global workforce, all through a unified and simplified platform. David, could you take us to the time when you wanted to be an entrepreneur and start your own company?
Thanks for this question and thanks for having me. Actually, it's a very interesting story because all started when I was around 6-7 years old. My dad showed me one Spectrum, which is a very old computer. Maybe young generations, they don't know what it is, but it was working with radio cassettes at that time. So since then, I started playing with computers, with different technological products. And after like 5-6 years of discovering the Spectrum, building some games in BASIC, very, very super basic, I discovered the CDs and crack games. So funny enough, I started selling CDs for €1 back then in Spain and started doing the first money as a business. That provided me enough funds to buy a Pentium computer at that time, which I used to start building websites, which leads me to the next business. Back then, around 14 years old, 15 years old, I started Beanred, which was the first platform in my area back in 2000 to just create pages, web pages, hosting them, provide corporate email. Back then, it was one of the few people doing that. I joined this business with a commercial person. We scaled to around 300 companies. But again, I did one of the mistakes, which is don't dedicate full-time to this business because I was studying university. I decided to do computer science. So one learning, focus full-time on this. After this venture, back in 2010, I moved to an e-commerce play because e-commerce also was booming. So again, I started playing with e-commerce and I started a coffee business because my family had a coffee-related business. I said, we need to sell online. So we started 2010. I didn't dedicate full-time, family business, the same thing. If something gets traction, which happened to this business, dedicate full-time because, we got traction, but I couldn't dedicate full-time because I was studying, I was working at the same time. So that happened back till 2013 when actually I moved to Dubai. And moving to Dubai for me was a game changer because new place, new country, everything different. And I decided to join Karim in 2017, which again brought me to the region, to understanding how the region is complex in certain circumstances and how to build product for the region as well, with different ventures there in Karim. And then right after Karim, I had a venture in one scale-up as well, scaling product and engineering teams. And after that, my co-founder, who, funny enough, I met in Karim while working in a food delivery business, led me to start Cercli to solve one of the biggest problems that we've seen here.
That's certainly a lot of information. When I hear the Pentium PC, Pentium 1, Pentium 2, I remember, and the compact disc, which was always 700 MB, 80 minutes.
Yes.
So you started with that background and you've gone to so many different types of businesses, from coffee to PC to technology. You told me a very interesting lesson saying that you didn't spend enough time in one business you were studying. What would you then advise for students, who are in universities, who want to start a venture on their own? They have a full-time coursework, they have studies, they have internships to do, and let's say they have a dream of doing a business or a startup in the side. What would you advise them?
My advice, maybe it's not popular, but back to my learnings, is if you have conviction and you are 100% sure that that is the greatest opportunity that you have in front of you, go full in. And if this means drop out from college, sometimes, we've seen one of the best successes people who did that, but you need to have conviction and don't regret.
Okay.
That's the most important advice I would say.
So is conviction only enough?
I mean, of course, there are many things, like there is the right timing. We've seen many examples that the idea was great, execution was great, but it was the wrong timing. So, of course, you need to understand, what is the right timing for it. If you have the right timing, you have the great idea, and most importantly, the execution, you are focused on execution well, I would say yes.
Got it. So focus, execution, and right timing. If you looked at your entire early ventures before Kareem, before Cercli, what are areas you think you did right and areas you think you could have improved on?
I think areas I did right is the products I was creating, because they were solving a need. For example, coffee, like you could not order online back in Spain, and people wanted to find new flavors that they couldn't find in the retail shops. So they were buying. That was right. Maybe what was wrong is back to one, focus full time, and also delegate, meaning like I could not do everything. And I was very protective at the time, saying, no, I want to have full control. So I could have start scaling the team maybe. Just spend some money, hire somebody here, there, and start seeing more traction. I think that was a mistake actually in the both ventures. I decided to keep as much as possible on my own, and I was very young, so that is one learning, like big thing. Like if you start seeing traction, just spend money and hire and grow the business. Like don't keep it for yourself.
God, I think that's a very practical advice for many founders, in which because they started the company, they feel that they should be doing everything and they should be controlling everything. But probably in certain cases, like you've said, it makes sense to delegate this so that the founder can focus on doing other things that the founder actually likes doing.
Exactly. I've seen this in many cases.
Yeah.
Even young generations, like they think that they can do everything, but that's not the case. Like everything is possible, but you need a team to support you. Otherwise, like I would say also don't start it alone.
Yeah.
In that case. So find the right partner, even it could be a co-founder or even initial engineer or somebody to support you. Like do it alone is very tough. And I think that was one of my biggest mistakes. That's why I tried to amend it a bit late, but I did it with Cercli.
So you've come from a very interesting background, both product and engineering, and you have that engineering mind. How does that shape the way in which you create products?
That's a great question, because I've been discussing this a lot in my wall, in the product wall, engineering. Also, to spot talent in product is very important. To be honest, when we are talking about a technological product, I think any product person should have an engineering background or understanding engineering, because I truly believe the best solutions and the solutions for problems come from engineering, because you understand what is possible, what you can do. And then, the execution is different and the edge cases, everything, like you need product person to also bring it to the picture, design it correctly. Sometimes engineering, we've seen they don't have a lot of design or creativity part of it. But the unicorn person would be one person that understands design and understands engineering, and then you can craft an amazing product, right? But to summarize, I think the best solutions come from engineering. Rely on them, emphasize with them, and then you will have a good crafting, which is what matters nowadays. The quality and the bar is super high nowadays for any product. I think Apple did a lot on this, but I would say that is one of the key factors.
I think with Apple, it was not only the quality, it was also the design. I remember famously when Steve Jobs, there was an engineer making the wiring of the product. The engineer said, or one of the members said, the back portion, the wiring wasn't so important because the phone would be covered. He said, no, but we know it. If somebody opens the phone at the back, they should be able to see that it's been designed so well. So that's really important across both aspects. I was also reading somewhere that a majority of the team members at Cercli are engineers as well. So I think that emphasis throughout in building that unified platform is also there.
Yeah, and not only this, also our first hire was a product designer. Even because we really wanted to build a product-led company and focus a lot on usability, simplicity, and design without trading off any complexity.
So when I speak to many founders about how they started their company, what is their initial story, it's always a mix. Some people said it was a light bulb moment. They felt that there was something that could have been done better, so they start a company. Other people take months or years, they mull over the idea and then take a decision. I spoke to another founder who spent a year doing market research, and only after that 1 year, he started writing the code for the company. So when Cercli was born, how did that idea to create this company came? Were you trying to solve a problem? Was it something on your mind and your founder's mind since a while?
Actually, it's a great question, and you can have also a lot of learnings here, because actually it came from my co-founder, Akit. He was working in different unicorns like myself, and in the last one that he was there, one of the most famous unicorns in UAE, he found that payroll was a problem. It was not rightly solved. They were trying to find a lot of good solutions out there, like top notch that they require, but they couldn't find the right solution. So this came to his knowledge and said, okay, there is a gap here in the market. Nobody is solving it rightly so. So then he called me and tried to convince me. I said, it seems challenging. It seems very interesting because also it was a SaaS approach that we wanted to do. Then we did kind of very quickly 20 to 30 interviews with different companies in the region. And we realized that everyone had a common theme, that it was we don't have one platform that solves everything. We had multiple platforms, disjointed systems, paperwork, Excels, we've seen, and multiple errors, human errors. So they said, okay, it's clearly a gap. Let's start and let's start fast, because the moment you bring or you ship a product to the customers is when everything starts. Like you cannot keep like 2-3 years building and then being in your cave and not talking to customers. You need to talk to customers from day zero, and you need to start shipping as soon as possible. Because we've seen that the moment you ship the product, your dynamics change completely. The moment a customer touches the product, then you have a percentage of bugs that you need to allocate. You want to be fast, but you have feedback from customers. So the earlier you do it, the better you will get.
Got it. So it's a very interesting approach. Before you started the company, you spoke to at least 30 different companies across probably the MENA region to find out how they were solving payroll. And it's not only payroll, which is very interesting. It's payroll, HR, legal, employment as well. It's so many different platforms together. So after, take me back to that day. You got all this feedback. You knew there was a problem. Maybe you wrote it down somewhere. You're like, this is a big problem. I think we need to solve it. Then what were the next steps like? Was it just, okay, we're finding the company, we'll call it Cercli?
It's never okay. Like there are so many things that happen just with the inception. So basically what happened is we went to the market, we said, let's focus on payroll because it was the main pain point that we realized. But quickly we realized that only payroll, it's very tough to solve if you don't have the whole employee data, right? So then we start building the HRIS, we start building time off because all feeds into payroll. If you don't have all these data points, then you need to spend time on integration or building it from outside. So we pivot quickly to say, we need to control everything. So we start building the full suite. That was number one. Number two realization was that customers in the region, they are not only operating in UAE. They need to pay contractors in different jurisdictions. They need to have Saudi presence, Egypt majority. So we had to also shift payroll, rebuild it from scratch to have multi-country, multi-currency, and multi-entity, meaning different labor laws, different compliance, and different types of hires. Like we have direct employees, contractors, and employer of record. All of this in less than 1 year or a few months. We had to quickly pivot. And now it is what is Cercli today.
And in that case, when you, in the overs, you started the company last year, you've grown, I think I was reading 25% month on month. The company's grown. It's processed over $23 million in salaries across 31 countries. What do you think are 2 or 3 differentiators of Cercli compared to anything else?
One is related to what I mentioned. Like from the get-go, we just went multi-country, multi-currency, different entities and different types of hires. That is a differentiator between other incumbents because they didn't have ready the platform to scale that fast. That is one. Second is our focus on usability, simplicity, and product design and product crafting. For us, this is a thing that we will never trade off. And then the third and fourth, I would say it's more in terms of customer support. We have a dedicated channel, call it WhatsApp, Microsoft Teams, Slack, to any customer that we onboard. Even at the scale that we are today, we are able to manage this, and we don't want to also trade it off because, again, never go far from the market. Listen to your customers all the time. And then the last one is migration or onboarding. Like for us, we want to migrate customers from other platforms or even from Excel in less than 48 hours, and it's our commitment, and we stamp it in the contract as well.
Okay.
So those are some of the key factors that differentiate us.
So that means if I were to understand, many companies would have different platforms for HR, different from payroll, different for onboarding, leave, even legal. So you take everything together and you tell the customer within 48 hours, you migrate everything to Cercli.
Correct.
Got it. And how important has that been to have so many different means of communication? You mentioned Slack, WhatsApp, Microsoft Team, probably Zoom, Google, all these different. Why was that so important to do?
Because nowadays everyone uses many tools, many channels, and we want to be as closer to the customer as possible. So what we did is from the get-go, we tried to automate all these channels in a way that we can answer them in with our SLAs and fast enough. So that was clear from day one that we wanted to automate those channels and be close to them.
Okay. So let's talk about YC Combinator. If I were to explain that to our viewers and listeners, YC Combinator is the most prestigious startup accelerator in the world. Based in Silicon Valley, it has funded companies like Airbnb, Dropbox, Reddit, Stripe, to name a few. And it is to get into that company and that kind of platform, it's only out of thousands of companies that apply, only a few get in. Cercli is part of the Y Combinator family. Overall, last year it raised $4 million from Y Combinator and many other VCs. How has that journey been from applying and reaching the success with them?
For us, I think it was a very critical point. We had doubts at the beginning to accept or not because there is a dilution component. But after attending the batch summer 23 and being there, to be honest, I would never regret that decision. Is one of the best things that any startup or any entrepreneur could do for different reasons. One is because they've seen it all. They've seen more than 4,000 startups, the failures, what works, what doesn't. So they are very honest in feedback, which is a blessing. They tell you straight on your face, don't do this, do that. Are your customers paying for your product? At the beginning, for example, we were there and said, no, our customers will pay us with feedback. And they told you, no, let them pay. Then you will understand if you are building something that they want. So they tell you, build something that customers want. How do you prove that? When they pay you, right? So quickly we shift that approach and we started having revenue, right? That's number one. Number two, they told you all the problems on hiring, because to be honest, one of the critical parts for any founder is hiring. And they've seen it all, so they tell you all the things. And one advice that they give you also in front of your face is don't give up. That for them, like they say, companies, they don't fail because they don't have money, they cannot fundraise, they fail because you give up. So they encourage you, don't give up, be resilient. And yeah, I think that was the three things that I would summarize, but also being there with people better than you, because trust me, when you go there intense 3 months, everyone is super smart, everyone is super switched on. Like you feel like, wow, I need to be at the same page. And so they push you inherently, like you push yourself a lot during the 3 months, and then the company starts moving, right? So I think it's super intense, but it's super like grateful to have been part of it.
Got it. So it was a 3 months intensive program that you and your co-founder did. You met people who are at your same level, smarter than you. And from the lessons you said, I think one of the most important was persistence, to keep doing the same thing or different things day in and day out without change in motivation and attitudes. That was really, really important. And I think it's a good lesson to learn for companies, and generally success in life is about going on from one day to the other without giving up. So if we were to talk about fundraising, which very simply is trying to get external money into your company. And this is done by companies for many reasons, for people, for expertise, for growth, and to build a new product, to expand to a new market, to grow in different regions. When was the time rather that Cercli decided to start raising funds? Because when you started last year, you switched to a paid model after the advice from Y Combinator. Your revenue was growing. You've expanded to so many different countries. Employees are coming in. There's a stable revenue going in. How did you decide now was the time? Was it a critical moment, or was it after a period of few months you decided to get funding?
Yeah, that's a good question. We got funding as a pre-seed at the very beginning because we decided we didn't want to bootstrap, because we wanted to hire the best talent possible, and for that you need fuel. So we had to go for fundraising because actually me and my co-founder, we said we want quality over quantity. So we want to get the best talent, and for that we need money. So we did a pre-seed round, and then we did the larger seed round altogether that you've mentioned. To be honest, the time for fundraising, it depends on your needs, it depends on your strategy, like on many things. They say usually when you have the best metrics, you need to raise, and when you don't need the money. Actually, it's the best time to do it. But for us, it's been quite easy at the beginning because we had good talent on board as well. We had a lot of conviction in the problem. So I think for us, the timing met, meaning you are sure what you want to do. In front of an investor, you need to be very honest, very transparent, and very self-assured that this is the problem that you want to solve, and you want to solve it for the long term. That is something that also we were very sure on this, and we made it clear to them.
In terms of fundraising, I mean, you've clarified that you needed fuel to grow, but there were many other ways to raise money. Probably not as large as fundraising as VC funding. There's revenue-based financing, there's crowdfunding, there's venture debt. You could walk to a bank, get a business loan as well in a few months, and you probably won't lose any equity. So how important was it for VC funding, and how has that changed in your business?
Yeah, I think we went to VC funding for different reasons. One, because also like a bank or something for an inception or early stage project, they would not fund you. But at VC level, you can find great operators that now are VCs, but they've been founders before. So again, they will help you a lot. And second, YC, for example, YC, the value that they add on the table, it's massive from different areas. Like in one call, you can get an intro to one of the best founders around the world because they founded, as you mentioned, the top startups that you can see out there, right? So that doesn't have price. Yeah, you have to give equity, but the value that you get in return is much more worth it.
In terms of finding investors, from my conversation with you, it seems like you decided on YC Combinator pretty early on. But if other startup founders in the MENA were looking to raise funds and probably the product probably wasn't as strong to reach YC level, how do you think they should approach investors? Should they look for MENA investors, global investors? How do they approach that?
Yeah, that's also a great question because it depends on your project and venture that you are doing. If you are doing a project or a venture focused on MENA region, then the ones that will understand more the market is locally here. If you want to go outside, like globally, for example, yeah, you should look abroad. They are very great investors of any types. So it depends, but I would suggest one thing very important is find those investors that they have conviction on your problem that you are solving, like on your space. If it's AI, find the ones that are doing this, or SaaS, for example, find great SaaS investors that they have a lot of conviction in that space, or in our case, HR tech or SaaS, find those that will help you in the journey as well.
Okay. So it's very interesting that you mentioned AI. So in quarter 2 of 2025, total global funding venture reached about 91 billion. About 40 billion of that was allocated only to AI. So when companies in the Middle East are looking for investors, how do they start? I mean, do they go to LinkedIn, follow the page, send them a message? Do they go to investor meets? Do they ask friends and family or other investors? What would be 3 practical advice that you could give them to reach out and start the investing process?
Number 1 would be that somebody else can refer you. Like investors, the best way to get to them is when somebody else refers you, like saying like you are building something great or you are a great founder. That is number 1. Number 2, I would advise to be part of some of the pitches events that they are happening in the region for seed, pre-seed startups. I think that would be a great story. And third, I would suggest before you start something, if you've been part of a startup in the region, in our case it was Karim, or another one, it will help as well when you meet an investor because you've seen it all. You've seen how it's tough to scale something. So I would suggest join a startup early on and then go and talk to investors at least for a while.
If a company based in MENA wanted to start fundraising, what are some of the things that they should avoid or do differently from your experience? Or that they shouldn't do, perhaps?
I would say that one is don't just invest a lot of time in having the perfect pitch deck. Like, to be honest, some of the best investments are even without pitch deck, right? So just focus on having conviction, clarity of thought, and having the great co-founder, to be honest. I would say focus on having a good co-founder that you complement, that you are not both, for example, business development or both engineers. That is one. Second, invest time on meeting them also early on, having informal coffee chats that they know or get to know each other. We say one thing that fundraising is the same as dating a girl, right? Because you need to get to know each other before you commit to something. So the same thing with investment, right? With fundraising. Try to do informal coffees, keep them updated on your progress, and when you decide to go, they will already know you. They will not just say, okay, we'll issue a check just because I met you today. That's not going to happen unless you have something extraordinary on the table.
Got it. Okay. Now, if we move back to Cercli, 31 countries in 18 months, that's a pretty quick and impressive achievement. What's the secret there?
A few things. One is speed, like meaning in Cercli everything should be fast, and product velocity for us is one of the key metrics that we measure in terms of the overall company, like in product. So product velocity to accommodate the different synergies that you need in each market. Number two, I think build a platform for that. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, if you don't have the right tools and the right platform to scale to all these jurisdictions, different markets, you will not go fast. You will realize, oh, now for this market I need X, for this market I need Y. So build it from the get-go, or at least the fundamentals need to be right. And then the third one is the team. Like you need a person, like each market is different, so you need the right people in each of the locations. Like I've seen many mistakes and examples of failures because you don't have the right people to open those markets, right? So I think these three key things are key to evolve and open these markets as fast as possible and gain traction, which is the most important thing.
Even if you're growing globally, it's important to hire local talent that's familiar with the market that you're in. Okay. If a founder came to you and wanted to expand to other markets really, really quickly, what's something that you would tell them to be avoidant of and not to do?
Make assumptions. We cannot make assumptions that anything that works in UAE or in the region, in the MENA region, will work, let's say, in Europe or even in Saudi if it works in UAE or Egypt, for example. Like each market has its own synergies. Like understand a little bit the market complexities, what means winning that market, and then action it. But don't just rush for the sake of rushing it, because I can tell you, like, I would not finish the number of examples I've seen in my past experiences and also even in Cercli nowadays.
Could you give me one or two examples, maybe from your past experience, about how people assumed maybe the laws or the way of working in one country is very different from another country?
Yeah, there are many examples. Like, for example, in Saudi, you have social security. Here, you don't have it, right? A simple example. Or in some jurisdictions, you need to have different entities with different labor laws. And if you don't support multi-entity, for example, you cannot fully support that country. That is an example in terms of labor laws. In terms of technology, I can give you an example on my past experiences. You go to launch, for example, Kenya or Tanzania with a desktop application or platform, but those countries are driven by smartphones. And then this is a failure, right? So, yeah, understand the people, understand the complications in terms of labor law and in technology adoption as well. Because, for example, in Saudi Arabia, you have iOS much bigger penetration than Android. So if you need to launch something mobile app, you know what you need to do, right?
Got it. So to really make sure and hone in on the local markets and the requirement, that's really important.
Correct.
You know, talking about labor laws in each of the countries and each of the market, it keeps changing. And it's very different from one country to the other. How has Cercli been able to stay on top and up to date with labor laws in different markets?
That's a great question. One of the things, we have a team of payroll experts in-house, so they keep up with all the changes in regulations, updates, compliance issues that may arise. But at the same time, also nowadays, we are using AI to support that, meaning we are automating the knowledge feeding to be able to have any updates embedded into the platform or in our internal teams, our payroll support team or compliance team that are on top of it. So we are trying to leverage also automation to keep up on all these changes and also embed it into the product as soon as they happen, like public holidays and different things that here are driven by the Moonsight and others.
If you look at the startup world, I mean, you've been part of startups, I've been part of, both of us have been part of the biggest startups in the MENA region. I think one of the main things, whether you're a founder or even an employee, is time. There are a million things that are juggling, that need to be done. There are so many fires to be put out, and there are so many different activities that need to be done. How do you decide where to put your time or where it's important?
Yeah, that's a problem that I think we face every day. No, in my case, right now I have a matrix there. Like it says, is it a customer issue? If it's a customer problem or a customer issue, for me, it's priority number 0. My team sometimes gets a bit crazy because when there is a customer problem, I just, not freak out, but I just immediately attend the problem. So that's number 1. If it's not a customer issue, then you just understand the impact. Like, what is the impact on today's priorities? If there is a high chance of impact, then I attend that. and then the rest I leave it, as Steve Jobs was saying, it's noise. But I think that is my matter. It's customer. If it's not customer, you check at the impact, and we do a lot in product and engineering, like prioritization based on impact and outcomes. So that's what I apply. It comes from my engineering background, so it's all related to impact usually.
So two main things from what I understand. Number one, customer. If it's related to a customer, there's a customer issue, there's a customer feedback, or something that would help a customer, that takes focus over everything else. And the second thing is impact. How quickly or how much impact is it taking for the business? There's also another framework, simple words, urgent versus important. If something, many things seem to be urgent that need to be done now, but they're not actually that important. In fact, when you actually do that table, which is something I work on every day, there are things that are not important and not urgent. And then you ask yourself, but why do I need to do it then? It's not important, it's not urgent. So that's another metrics. Is there any one or two engineering metrics that you use that could probably help our viewers and listeners in terms of prioritization?
Yeah, I mean, we look at effort, usually like how long it will take to solve XYZ in case of a bug or a fire that we have. And then as well, the impact, like we have severity and priority. We analyze these two metrics. If severity is high and priority is high, priority meaning business continuity is affected and things like that, then we just move it on. So it's all about business continuity, like what would affect. Or for example, it's in terms of also revenue hit, or is there a monetary cost? If is there a monetary cost, also we need to move it higher in the severity and priority, right? So there is, I think, customer experience, business continuity, monetary impact.
Okay, so different matrix to actually do this. So looking back at your life, were there certain moments that at that time were a setback to you or seemed to be like the end of the world, but actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise?
Yeah, I mean, there are moments. Like one was back then in 2013 when I was working in Barcelona and the company I was working at back then, which it was complemented with the e-commerce. They shut down operations, and then I said, okay, actually I wanted this to happen, but because I could focus to build something. But of course, it's not a grateful experience. And it helped me to realize that maybe I should do a change. And then I moved to Dubai. And a lot of things happened because of that. Right? I met my wife, I joined Karim, I met my co-founder in Karim, and we started Cercli. So you never know, like something that could look back step or something, it led to a better outcome at the moment, and to drive me to I think the thing that I like the most, because I always thinking I need to build something again, I need to do something now full in dedication, and then at the end it happened. So it allowed me to just realize that what I wanted to do, it was start something and go full in.
Got it.
In that case.
So throughout your journey building Cercli, or even in your previous work, were there any moments of fear or doubt that crept in, and how did you solve that and overcome it?
To be honest, as a founder, it's a roller coaster. That happens almost every day. Like you can go in the morning and be super happy because we are going to release something extraordinary, and then in the evening, you know that we lost a deal or one customer gave bad feedback, right? So even within a day, you have these different moods. I would say what keeps me with energy and optimism, and by the way, a founder needs optimism. Otherwise, it's very tough to do it, and have somebody as well as a co-founder. So I would say is that you are enjoying what you are doing. That's, I think, otherwise there is no point that a person will be a founder, because what it takes, and I think all the founders that may be listening the podcast will agree with me that you feel lonely many times, but I think having a co-founder, and in my case family, it helps you just to keep going, because every day is a new thing, a new fire, a new good news, bad news. So yeah, you just need to keep going and be happy also in the bad moments with your team, because the team also needs you, and you cannot be upset in front of them or externalize, which to be honest, in my case, I externalize a lot, but it's one thing that I need to improve in that case. But yeah, you need to keep up and be smiling and trying to keep pushing every day.
I think it's a natural human emotion when things don't go our way, when we think or we have expectations about something, then it doesn't go. We do get disappointed, we do get disheartened and defeated. But from what I understand, talking to you, it's important to be optimistic, to continue to go on, and that support, whether it's within your team and with family, that's really, really important. So now we move into the next section called the Power Minute. So you have 60 seconds to advise a potential founder who wants to start their own company. What are things that they should do, they should avoid and learning?
The key advices I would give is hire slow and fire fast. That is a key thing because you need to be convinced on who you bring on board. That person will define the culture, will define how your company will evolve. That's number one. Number two is have conviction or build this conviction on the problem that you are solving. That will help you on fundraising, on convincing talent to join your company, on evolving the problem and the structure. And what not to do, I would say, is don't try to be secretive. Like, try to share your idea. You will get a lot of feedback and it will shape you the future of the company. Trust me that many days, like, everyone has the same ideas than you. We are not the smartest people in the room. Everyone will have the ideas, but the key is execution. So just try to get feedback. Just try to be surrounded by the best people that you can get, and that will help you a lot on your success.
Okay, so if we talk about success in life and in general, what does that mean to you?
Success to me means that I'm doing what I want, to be honest, as simple as that. It doesn't mean something materialistic. It doesn't mean that I'm in the cover of Forbes or something like that, or Time, whatever magazine you want to take. It's that because at the end of the day, life is limited and you need to enjoy what you are doing. And when you are enjoying what you're doing, there is no time constraint, there is no pressure because you really want to make something. And to be honest, I'm blessed that somebody is investing on us to really do what I want and what I enjoy, which is building a product that solves a problem and that people are happy with it. For me, one of the best moments is when I see a customer happy. That to me is the best highlight of Cercli, if you would say.
I think in general, many people define success with materialistic things, a certain revenue threshold, a certain amount of wealth, awards, recognition, like you said in different magazines. It's a very refreshing perspective to hear that doing what you want and just being happy is the most important metric for you. If you had to give 2 or 3 pieces of wisdom or advice to anyone to be successful on your terms, what do you think that would be?
I think one is try to find what motivates you to wake up every day. In my case, I found it when I was early on in my childhood, like just playing with digital products and building digital products. Somebody else maybe would be happy just teaching music, for example, or other things. So try a lot of things and understand which ones fulfill you. And that, I think, to me is the key to find that thing. If you don't try, you will not know. So I would say try a lot of things. In my case, I tried a lot of sports, I tried a lot of activities, and then I found it myself, maybe due to the circumstances or maybe not, that building digital products was fulfilling me, and more importantly, seeing the usage and the impact in the world, right? So I would say try a lot of things, be curious at the same time, which defines a lot success, and for sure you will find your path, for sure.
David, thank you so much for coming in and blessing us with this knowledge. It's been a very insightful conversation with you, and I really hope that it inspires other people who want to grow and build their own company and scale up in life as well as in business. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it as well.